Stories are, in my opinion, one of the best things to come from humans. They record real events like science, history, etc., but they also provide an outlet for creativity and a way to experience lives other than our own. We also have mediums like movies and live theater, and to mention in more recent years, video games. Stories are prevalent in every aspect of our lives, and in these stories, mainly fictional, we have our cast of characters. These characters serve as our eyes, our glimpses into their world, as well as a compelling person for us to follow. But there's been an ongoing debate in the writing community as to whether or not we should include a certain type of character, and that is the normal character. Genshin has a lot of characters that fit into this archetype, but to name a few, Yoimiya, Xiangling, Lisa, Layla, Ito, Kuki, Kaveh, Chiori, Nilu, and a ton more that I'm probably forgetting. And these are the general people that live in Teyvat, and some, if not most of them, are decently written, the ones I want to highlight here being Kaveh, Ito, and Chiori. But then there are some who aren't well done as a quote normal person, being someone like Nilu. So in this video, I'm going to break down what it means to write a normal character. Should we do it? How can it be done well? Etc. Let's talk. Before we get into it, as always, your quick reminder to like and sub. I make a ton of videos just like this one examining Genshin's writing. If you want to stay up to date with when I post, make sure to turn on notifications. If you want to talk with a community of people who like Genshin and writing, join the Discord. Alright, let's get into it. So, I'm going to start by answering a basic question. Should we write normal characters? The answer here is yes, sort of. Writing the average person is important, especially in a world like Genshin's. That is so vast with so much diversity in the type of people that live there. Not everyone is going to be some elemental, power-wielding badass. And they have that. All around the cities, there are normal people just minding their business. So, doesn't that fill the quota? To a degree. It enriches the world, certainly, but we have to remember that vision wielders started ordinary too. So there have to be some ordinary people that just happen to be vision wielders. We have people like Layla, who's just a college student with a cryovision. Chiori, who's just a business owner with a geovision. This works great when it comes to writing the normal characters. They fit seamlessly into the world and add depth just as average citizens. In a normal story with an average cast size, though, I can't help but advise against this. There's a simple truth that in the large majority of cases, normal people won't hook audience interest. A story about a man living a normal life is quaint, sure, but that will make for an interesting story for more than maybe 20 or 30 pages. Genshin has room for normal people alongside its much more interesting characters, like Skara or Yolan, and the majority of its cast aren't just average Joes. Unless your story has an expanse of characters like Genshin, you typically don't have room for normal people with normal stories. But when it comes to background characters, make sure to flesh them out. Well, this obviously doesn't mean going back into each individual NPC number 3 and writing them a novel of their own, it more so means writing them as a group. Take a look at a show that did this really well, Arcane. If you look around the two cities, they each have very different people in the background. The rich city of Piltover has mechanical characters with posh fashion and mechanical tastes, while the Undercity has rags and rust. In a story, you can characterize groups of background characters through individuals. In a story, characterizing the group of the background character will characterize them more than if you just look into them specifically. But say a story does have room to write more normal characters, or you want to flesh out people in a more realistic world setting. What then? I'll be looking at one specific character as a bit of a bad example here, Nilu. Now, before you attack me, let me explain. A few months ago, I did a video comparing Nilu and Yoimiya, and one of the most common comments I got was defending Nilu because they liked how she was just a normal person. And while I can understand where they're coming from, I don't think she's written well even as a normal person. To explain, let's look at one of the first things we were taught as kids. Everyone has struggles. Every normal person has something that's hard for them in their life. Nilu? She doesn't have that. And yes, I read her character stories, I listened to her voice lines. Her troubled voice line is being scared of poisonous mushrooms. Let me say, I have no problem with her having a supportive family and normal childhood. I'm lucky to say that I have that too. But everything about Nilu is so perfect that it's uncanny. She had a loving family. Okay, that's fine. She's naturally talented at something. Also fine, a lot of people are. She's super friendly and everyone loves her. Less normal, most people have at least a few people who dislike them. Even with all this fame and popularity, even as a young child, it never went to her head even a little bit. And that's just plain unrealistic. Well, normally most of this stuff could be fine. At this point, there's just so much stuff, things I didn't even mention, that make her so perfect while having nothing to balance it out. While having a good family, talent, being popular, etc. are all fine on their own, it's that along with nothing bad going on even a personal level. She's just this incredibly talented person with literally zero problems. No one like that actually exists. I also want to take this to say, I don't mind her having those traits. Some people are just naturally more charismatic and talented. But my problem is her having absolutely nothing wrong with her. It doesn't even have to be public. Something in the character stories wouldn't be great, but hey, it'd be something. A super easy fix to this would be something hidden. Yunjin, a very similar character, has this exact thing going on to give her some depth. She could have a front of being this talented and popular with a good family, but perhaps it's not the whole truth to her. Perhaps you could use her one minor flaw of being passive, but she gets taken advantage of a lot by money-hungry investors. Perhaps she knows she's being taken advantage of, but is too scared to step up. But, if we're changing core pieces of her, I'd take over one of the traits I listed. Perhaps her family could be less accepting of the arts, like that one NPC in the story quest. I once saw comments suggesting making that Nilu's father instead and cutting the NPC out, which is a whole other layer of emotional stakes that I love. Or my personal favorite method, make her not naturally talented. Mini Neu Rewrite. In her childhood, Milu always found herself drawn to the Grand Bazaar, like her character stories, and loved to watch the dances of the theater, whether it be on her own or while her parents shopped there. Her parents saw this interest and enrolled her in a dance class for young children. But despite how much Nilu wanted to learn, she just couldn't. She would try twice as hard as the other kids, but never got as skilled as she wanted to be. Eventually, she got so down on herself that she quit the class and nearly dancing as a whole, which is where her teacher finds her, at her lowest. So the teacher saw how hard she tried, and knew that if Nilu was given individual attention, she would succeed. So this teacher gave her that attention in private, and though she was strict, helped Nilu become an amazing dancer. As an older teen, Nilu left her to pursue bigger shows with the theater, growing even more. This still gives something to her story. What the end result is saying, taking away her natural talent gives her something to work for. Seeing how hard she worked, you could respect and root for her in following her dreams. Honestly, I see this as more normal than her original story, having to work to be good at her chosen thing. There's one character I think is very similar to Nilu in the basic principle of their story, and that is Chiori. And yes, I know I have a natural bias toward her because of everything, but hear me out here. While they're very different in terms of personality, they both grew up in good families, Joy perhaps being even better off here. They both have a specific interest, being dancing and fashion respectively, that they're renowned for in the current story. But where Nilu's is one of linear success, Chiori's is much more inspiring. I've talked about her backstory a lot on this channel, but to summarize, her story is that of ups and downs and perseverance even when things are hard. Though Chiori did have natural talent for fashion, she took years and years of hard work as well as literally moving across Tibet for her to get to where she is now. And at the end of the day, she's just an entrepreneur like millions of real-world people. Even characters with less depth to their background have their ups and downs. Gaming and Jinyan have to deal with the competitive performance industry in Liyue Harbor. Zhang Ling spends years traveling to perfect her dishes. Kave's talented artist who's in a tough situation due to impulsivity. Layla is the character I consider to be the most normal because she's literally just a tired student, like pretty much everyone was at some point. To summarize, the reason I don't think Nilu was written as a normal character is that she simply isn't normal. She has a surface level relatability, but she ends up just being a caricature of the ideal normal. If you're going to write normal characters, make sure they're actually normal people, with struggles and real lives that develop due to those. To make these tips a little easier to apply, here are some practical bullet writing advice that I personally learned from studying the normal characters of Genshin. To make this more applicable, this advice is more supposed that you're writing characters that are normal, like your average Joe who suddenly becomes a story's hero, or if you're just writing some form of realistic fiction. 1. Give normal characters realistic struggles. Every average person has obstacles or challenges. Ensure your normal characters face realistic hardships, whether big or small. This helps them feel relatable and grounded. 2. Avoid perfection. Avoid creating characters with flawless lives or personalities. Perfect characters like Nilu can feel unrealistic or unrelatable. Introduce small flaws or imperfections to make them feel genuine. 3. Show effort, not just talent. If your character has a skill, let them work for it. Even if they're naturally gifted, there's a difference between prodigy and practice. A hard-earned success story is more relatable than effortless talent, making the character's achievements more meaningful. 4. Incorporate social dynamics. Show the character interacting with various personalities, friends, family, rivals, supporters, or even those who misunderstand and dislike them. This makes their relationships feel grounded. 5. Create cycles of success and failure. For normal characters, let their joy include ups and downs. Like Chiori's story of perseverance, this reflects the typical human experience where progress often involves setbacks. 6. Use specific but relatable traits. Details like being a tired student like Layla or a hardworking artist like Kaveh make characters feel more grounded. Traits that are universally relatable in specific ways make average characters compelling specifically for being realistic. 7. Avoid idealization. Normal characters should feel achievable and not idolized. Avoid making them feel excessively loved by everyone or completely without flaws. This prevents them from being caricatures of the ideal normal person. 8. Your background characteristics by context. If you want to develop the world, one of the best ways to do that is through the people. First, hire your background characters instead of detailing each one, characterize groups based on setting. Use subtle cues like fashion, speech, or mannerisms to reflect the collective identity and culture of a setting. 9. Keep their motivations simple and understandable. Normal characters have relatable, straightforward goals. Ensure their motivations are something readers can easily identify with, such as improving their craft, supporting family, or fulfilling a personal dream. 10. Allow some moments of self-doubt. Most normal characters experience moments of uncertainty. Let your character question their choices or feel unsure at times. This vulnerability can create an emotional connection. 11. Reflect personal growth through small changes. Instead of drastic transformations, allow your normal characters to grow gradually in small ways that reflect typical human experience, like gaining confidence, learning to assert themselves, or refining a skill. But overall, if you take only one thing from this video, remember that when it comes to the average person, relatability is key. So yeah, that's about it. If you made it to the end, make sure to like and subscribe. There are a ton of characters fit into this normal archetype that I didn't even think of, so let me know in the comments if there are any characters I missed that you think fit this bill. If you want to talk with me in just a generally nice community, join my Discord for fun discussions. And if you want to vote on the next video, check my community tab for polls. Quick personal note, I've started serious training for my speech more recently. If any of you notice anything, please let me know since I'm looking for outside feedback. Alright, enough from me. Have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night to review R, and hope to see you in the next one.